Hey guys, my name is Loveless, and this time we're here with Quirk Knife, chapter 39. So, this has been long awaited by many of you. I've seen you in the comments. I had a delay of me being sick with walking pneumonia or something like that. It was just terrible. Um, couldn't really do things like record, but mostly recovered. So now we're back to the normal grind. So let's get straight into it. Toya stood at the side of the road while his stomach was doing repeated flips. Toga next to him was finishing off her lunch. Izuku seated on the ground dramatically, and Yamada scrolling through his phone. Alright, kids. Hawks will be here soon to escort you down. I'll be driving down the last few boxes. Shota's class has been pestering Shinso more and more about you guys, especially Toga since they saw her before. So try not to engage just yet. Nezu has a plan in place, and we should follow that, right? Yamada smiled. Do I get my own bedroom? Toga asked with her mouth still full. Red pomegranate juice spread messily around her face as she completely ignored what the taller blonde said. There are 5 rooms, so obviously Sho and I need one, meaning yes, everyone gets their own room. Wow, Toga said with newfound shine in her eyes. That's so cool. Isn't that so cool, Zuko? The greenette grunted in return, cat still around his side, and eyes tracking the clouds that passed over. Toy could tell that his little gremlin was nervous. He was finally getting out of his bandages removed today, and he was a little more anxious than usual since he can't throw knives. Toya caught Izuku several times reaching for a knife, only to pause when he realized that it was impossible. Toga deflated slightly at the lack of a response, so Toya was quick to swoop in to defuse the situation. It is. I can imagine it's pretty hard to find a discreet house around here with so many rooms, too. Toga nodded enthusiastically and started talking to Yamada about decoration ideas. She wanted to paint her room a bright red. When a long car pulled up, it felt like they were about to be kidnapped. The windows rolled down, and inside was Keigo, waving a little anxiously as Toga's eyes became even brighter. That's a freaking limo for, like, celebrities. Toga pulled Izuku lightly onto his back, sitting up as far as he could. As Toga put it, pretending like they were driving backwards. Be good, Yamada called out as Toya stumbled in, knocking his head against the top of the roof, but not only once, but twice. Oh, you okay? Keigo cringed slightly as Toya rubbed his forehead with a wince, groaning ever so slightly in pain and embarrassment. Fuck off. Okay. The window rolled up as Toya kept himself distracted by the sound of Toga's soft whispers, her hands waving everywhere in excitement. As much as he tried to ignore it, Keigo's wide-eyed glare was burning holes through his skull, tiny wings fluttering with a pause. Can I help you with something? Toya finally deadpanned without looking at the other man, instead keeping his eyes busy with whatever he can spot out of the tinted windows. When Keigo didn't respond, Toya sighed heavily and turned in his seat, coming face to face with the blonde. What? If this is about your jacket, Yamada's gonna wash it for me. I wore it the entire time at the hospital. Sorry. Keigo shook his head. Nah, it's cool, man. I have more than one. The blonde paused and looked away, his face growing slightly red. You can keep it, actually. I don't need more. Toya raised his eyebrow in slight shock, taking the risk and moving closer. So you said you're still with the commission. Why? Keigo stiffened immediately, looking back with wide eyes. Well, you know how it is. A cult? No! It's just me, Kate. Hawks. Toya resisted the urge to slap the blonde across the face. I'm not calling you that, but it's just me. You don't have to lie about those assholes at the HC. Keigo's eyes were flickering around the vehicle, mainly to where the driver was seated behind the tinted windows. It's not that bad, he chuckled weakly. They made me into a hero after all. They were supposed to make me a hero too. Look where I am now. Toya sat in silence. Toya sat in silence, his eyes tracing Keigo's sharp cheekbones and sunken cheeks, his dark circles beginning to show under the makeup and his eyes seeming dull. He wasn't the same Keigo Toya always knew. It was crazy what time does to someone. Just look at Izuku. Miracle hates me right now. Toya looked back over. What? We kind of had a fight about the commission the other day. It got messy. She didn't want me there, but she's totally blowing things out of proportion, being all dramatic and stuff. Toya hummed. Guess that's why she was so, what's the word? Touchy yesterday? She hasn't spoke to me in 4 days, but whatever, it's probably for the best. Isn't she your only friend? Toya asked hesitatively, chewing the inside of his lip as his leg began to bounce when he recognized how much closer they were to Yue. Not anymore, Keigo mumbled, his head ducked low and eyes peering towards Toya, who was wearing the same expression. We're still friends, right? Toya's hand began to smoke ever so slightly. Being honest here, my only friend lately has consisted of very mentally ill teenagers. Besides, I don't think you want to be friends with the person that I am right now. Of course I do, Keigo responded immediately, eyes wide in panic and wings beginning to twitch again. I want to be friends with you always. You're my best friend. You won't even let me call you by your name now. Keigo shut down immediately, expression falling flat as his face turned forward. Right, sorry, that was naive of me to assume. Guilt bubbling up in Toya's gut right now, the shorter man hunched in on himself while drumming his fingers across his knees, lacking actual rhythm. Me too, he whispered. I'm sorry too. Izuku walked through the halls of the most prestigious hero school, but not the way that he wanted to. Not as a hero student, but as a vigilante, a criminal. The kids are probably eating lunch now, Cementos explained. And here you are, Nezu's office. Thank you. Hawks bowed ever so slightly before knocking, entering and allowing the others to pass him first. Inside was Nezu, but it wasn't just him. No. Izuku's eyes flicked over to Shota, then Hizashi, then Recovery Girl, then Mirako, and then no. Not just some skeleton blonde man. That was All Might. That was motherfucking All Might. Oh, good afternoon. Nezu piped up right away. It's a pleasure to see you all again. Toga, Todoroki, Midoriya. Don't call me Midoriya. Don't call me Todoroki. Nezu chuckled like he was completely oblivious to their deathly auras. Perhaps I should have seen that coming. My apologies, Izuku, Toya. But come in, come in. We have much to discuss before our two teachers here return to their class. Toga jumped and pointed at All Might. Hey, I ate your blood. Don't admit to that, you moron. Toya whispered harshly, cuffing the back of her neck and dragging her in. All Might's jaw was still hanging open in confusion. I believe we're all acquainted here, except for my friend Yagi. He works closely with All Might. Izuku thinned his eyes suspiciously and took a seat so close to Shota. He might as well be sitting on his lap, nearly shaking in anger. All Might's eyes skimmed over Izuku longer than the others, but the bright eyes were quickly averted when Izuku was practically foaming at the mouth, green eyes rabid and looking for a fight. Nezu clapped his paws together. Now I'm sure we all know the expression that goes like this: two birds with one stone. There was a series of hesitant nods around the room as Izuku noticed the way Mirako was casting nervous looks at Hawks, rabbit ears twitching at every source of noise as if she was on high alert. It wasn't easy putting my plan together. This was a highly dangerous mix and delicate situation all woven together to create some sort of puzzle. Toya, you recall when the day you spent with me, correct? Yeah? This little puzzle here. The keychains and Key? Did you solve it? Toya picked up the trinket from his desk and held it carefully. Yes. Took me 2 hours. And I had to stop you from accidentally using your quirk when you got frustrated because that would have happened. Toya's white brows pinched together as his head tilted to the side. Uh, I guess the thing would have melted? Is that a trick question? No, you're right. One mistake from an outside force would have immediately destroyed the entire puzzle. An irreversible action, correct? Toya nodded. Nezu smiled slowly and took a sip of his tea. Now, Toya, tell me, how did you solve the puzzle? How did you get the key? What do you mean? Just give me the answer. You can't be wrong. With a subtle hint of anxiety, Toya tugged at his fingers and gave a response. Well, I just moved the chains together until they unravel properly, making it easy to get the key. Izuku's eyes widened in realization as Shota did the same. Nezu nodded with glee. Correct, you are, my friend. The chains are all shifted together to solve a puzzle, and that's exactly what my goal is. I have been presented with numerous problems all linked together, exactly like chains. Now the key is to the solution to them all. So all I need to do is to get my paws on that. Problems? Hazashi asked slowly, as in, plural? Why, of course. We have three here in general with vigilantism, and somewhat that is my easiest problem. Izuku and Toya are legally declared dead. Izuku and Toga don't have proper families to return to, and Toya doesn't feel comfortable in doing so. Toya will have to face his family soon enough, of course. And then we have Toya Todoroki. Old registered name in the Hero Commission they tried to bury, tied to Hawk's situation status. Red feathers went flying, and Hawk scoffed loudly, angry yellow eyes flashing over to Mirako. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Be professional, Shota warned, but it went unnoticed as the short man stood up, pointing a threatening finger across the room. I can take care of shit myself. You're not my mother. And you, what, told on me? What are you fucking trying to accomplish? I'm fine. Everything's fine. Mirako was out of her seat in a heartbeat. Saying things are fine don't make it so, you moron. You really do have a bird brain, don't you? Why can't you see that you've been manipulated, Hawks? You've been so abused your entire life that you associate abuse with normality. That's not... I haven't been abused. They never laid a hand on me in terms to harm me. Lies. Besides, get your head out of your ass, and so you can see the light. Abuse isn't always physical. As others began to grow stressed as well, Shota standing and having to hold Hawks back as Hazashi snatched Mirako. Izuku sat there with an empty expression, eyes moving back and forth among the heroes. They treat me well, Hawks cried, and Mirako laughed in a hysterical way. They don't treat you, they control you. As a hero and your friend, it's my duty to protect those who need protecting. At this moment, this time and place, Hawks, that person is you, and I will protect you until the day I take my last fucking breath on this shitty-ass planet. Toya was standing between the two. All Might was standing idiotically to the side with Recovery Girl, as Toga was crouched next to Nezu, wearing a stressed expression. But Izuku was done. Grown adults arguing like great children. How pathetic. How weak. How disgusting. Shut the fuck up. There was no stutter to his words, no kindness or patience as the room froze. Izuku standing on his chair with his curls obstructing the higher part of his face. If his arms weren't plastered to heavy casts right now, he knows that his hands would be balled in anger. What a waste of time this whole game truly is. Izuku tilted his head back and closed his eyes, drawing an audible breath through his nose before chuckling, mouth opening to relax. Is this what heroes are? He asked quietly, eyes wide and manic as he started to stare at the ceiling. Is this really what I used to look up to? Jumping down from the chair and earning a disapproving huff from Recovery Girl, Izuku rolled his shoulders, allowing his neck to before using his foot to open the door. You children, sort this out. I'll be around. All Might reached forward. Young man, please. Choke on my bones, old man. Izuku, no! Shota tried, but Izuku hobbled down the hallway faster than he moved in a while, easily losing Shota by weaving through the crowds. He needed some air, a chance to breathe for once. Get Toga out of here, Hazashi mumbles as Recovery Girl looked over to him with a confused expression. The taller man shoved the two. Go, this is gonna get ugly. Toga opened her mouth to speak before Recovery Girl took her arm, quickly leading her down the hall, despite the cries of annoyance. Not even a minute later, the black-haired man returned by kicking the door open, his quirk activated from anger. You idiots! Shota seethed, his entire body on guard, and he struggled to keep himself together from tearing the whole room apart. You fucking idiots! Shota threw his phone across the room as it slammed into the farthest wall. His entire body was shaking as Hawks literally took a step back, eyes wide in panic. That kid, he breathed. Just like all of you, my kid has been through hell and back. Fucking hell. He won't talk about the shit he went through because he physically can't. And you have the audacity to talk about things in front of him without warning? You haven't had to see his scars yet. The room felt so thick that breathing was becoming difficult. Shota's sheer fury was causing most to cower furthest against the wall, except for Hazashi and Nezu, that is. Nezu still sat at his desk with a mug between his paws. Hazashi slumped over and wrapped an arm around Shota, forcing the man's face against his chest. Yelling won't help, Sho. We know this, right? There was a weak nod and a grunt before he pulled back. Well, Izuku has been unleashed on UA. That's fine. Nezu chuckled. Let him do what he wants. Toya cringed. I think you're underestimating the chaos he causes. His vigilante name is literally chaos, so... Listen. Nezu's tone became serious all of a sudden. This needs to be sorted out. Luckily, I already have. I'm going to play my pause and win the game of my own, if you will. Hawks, I will get you out of the commission and make you a free hero. Toya, you will be able to hug your siblings again without worry of your mother. Toga will be cared for and kept away from her cruel parents. Shinso and Mei will stay with their newfound family without being dragged into this. And Izuku, he'll be saved. He'll be just fine. These kids will all be heroes. Mirko took a seat once again as her tan skin was still flushed with anger. Hawks now more guilty than mad. The commission isn't a good place, Toya said softly, palming the top of Hawks' head. You know this. We talked about escaping. Escaping like it was a fucking prison. No. Yes. Listen, Nezu interrupted with a dark, dangerous tone. I am no longer in the mood for this foolishness. I will help you all, which means I need your cooperation. So I will give it to you straight and lay out all the facts. The intelligent hero opened several drawers and began pulling out papers and files. This has been my top priority all week, and I believe I am ready to put this all into action. Hawks, it isn't possible to simply pull you from the commission. It wouldn't be that easy. This will have to go slow and gentle, meaning I wish that you start sticking around here often where I can properly defend you. Hawks bit his lip. I still have hero stuff to do, you know? You will be. This is just a change in pace. Don't you want to inspire some future heroes? That sounds pretty heroic to me. Shota continued to lean against Hazashi and slow his breath as he realized Nezu was manipulating Hawks, but clearly needed in this situation. Hawks was so far gone that he's no longer recognized he needs help, so it will have to be forced on him. Your duty as a hero has expanded beyond bringing villains in. In fact, I have a proposition. I planned to incorporate Izuku to Class 1A, since his intelligence will easily allow him to do so. He did, in fact, graduate middle school, unlike Toga. That leaves me yet another problem. You see, I need help with my two other vigilantes. Toya's leg began to bounce as he heavily sighed, the blonde piercing his lips. The commission won't like this. I have a strict schedule. Here he goes again. Mirako snapped. Hawks, you're literally proving my point. I know you would love to do this, but here you are proving the HC controls you. You can't even make your own decisions. Hawks, Nezu said, I want you to make your own decision here. Don't think about anything else, just what you want. Do you want to help me with Toya and Toga? Under my surveillance, I can make you the hero you want to be. Do it, Shota said firmly. You have no future with the commission. You're miserable. I can tell because I've seen it before. And I've lived it before, Toya mumbled. So don't make the mistake out of fear here. You're not on your own. I don't understand, Hawks whispered. Why are you so adamant about helping me when the others need it more than me? Stop that, Toya sneered. Remember the promise we made, huh? You're really gonna fucking back out on me now? The blonde's eyes widened slowly as Shota assumed he must be remembering the promise Toya speaks of. You still want to keep that promise? I'm right fucking here, aren't I? Come on, Tweety Bird. You're a hawk, not a chicken. Hawk scrunched his nose in internal panic, his eyes moving from person to person before speaking once more. Will this help the other problems? Nezu answered without hesitation. Yes. There was another beat of silence until Hawks rubbed his face. I am a hero after all, right? So you'll do it? Yes. And, Toya, was it? Yagi spoke up for the first time. On behalf of All Might, I wish to help you with your mother. Neither of you should have to be held down by those controlling you no longer. I swear on that. Izuku's eyes flashed around the hallways he walked through, ducking his head when odd students passed by. He didn't exactly look suspicious and dangerous to others, his arms trapped in casts while wearing a bright neon clip in his hair and a Hello Kitty highlight sneakers flashing with each step. But he was so surprised no one asked him about his identity. Guess Izuku really did look that weak. Bell rang and the hall soon became deserted, leaving Izuku only slightly lost and alone without the use of his hands. His eyes skimmed the picture of smiling students hung on the wall in trophy cases filled with all sorts of prizes. Some strange sense of jealousy built up in his gut. Can you see me now, Dad? He thought to himself. What about you, Kachan? Do you see me? Because I'm here, standing in UA, on the line of heroic and villainy. Who would ever thought? Izuku's face grew tighter into a scowl before continuing his walk, eyes looking out the large window and completely unaware of the second presence until his face smashed into a chest, nearly knocking him off balance before the person grabbed his hoodie to keep him upright. Sorry. Izuku frowned and blinked. A familiar redhead student with sharp teeth smiled at him. You alright? Hey, have we met before? Izuku shook his head rapidly as red eyes continued to scan over him. Nah, you're really familiar. Actually, you look like one of the vigilantes. Shh! Izuku snapped sharply. What? You want to fucking medal for having eyes? The taller boy stiffened with wide eyes. Wait, are you serious? Shinso said you were in a coma. Where's your mask? Dude, your arms. Are you supposed to be here? I thought you were a girl. Izuku pressed his lips together in a straight line and stared up through his eyelashes, the boy's words finally dying off as he chuckled nervously. Sorry about that. I guess it's pretty wild seeing a popular vigilante casually walking around school. Say, you look really young. Izuku ignored him some more as the boy didn't seem to get the memo. Well, my name is Eijiro Kirishima. Ida actually sent me to find Aizawa-sensei. He didn't show up at homeroom, which is, to be fair, isn't the first. Have you seen him around? You knew him at USJ, right? I guess you guys probably met out on the streets. Izuku nodded stiffly as Kirishima smiled. And sorry to ask, but I'm curious. Are you a boy or a girl? Whatever you want me to be. I don't care. Kirishima's eyes brightened further. Cool. Well, can I help you get somewhere? You look a little lost. Are you even supposed to be here? Because I can sneak you out the back as long as you don't snitch on me. Recovery girl. Izuku tilted his head in questioning manner. Need to remove my cast. Oh, heck yeah, man. Or girl. Or I'll shut up. Just follow me. Kirishima slowed down immediately when he noticed Izuku's slow pace, much to his embarrassment, yet the boy didn't seem to mind. So, Kirishima squinted at the sun outside the windows. What should I call you? Chaos is still cool, but you're not, like, wearing your costume or anything. Want me to call you something else? Izuku pondered the question for a moment, aware that Kirishima was most likely tell the other classmates about this, which includes Kachan. Using his real name is dangerous, since Kachan would recognize it. And Izuku wasn't sure if it was the best way to introduce himself as well. Not dead. But at the same time, fuck Kachan's feelings. Izuku is fine. Izuku, that's a really nice name. And don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Izuku nodded skeptically as Kirishima kept casting glares at him, lips pulled in a nervous frown and hands open to close by his sides. Izuku? Hmm? Thanks to what you and your friends did, if I'm honest, some of my classmates don't exactly approve of what you guys do, but I think, well, you guys did was right. So I don't understand how you could be told you were wrong. You saved our lives and almost died doing so. Kirishima stopped in the halls and turned to face Izuku. Folding into a bow, his spiky hair was nearly touching the ground. You're the most manliest person I know. I really owe you one. Izuku stepped back in shock as he noticed the familiar sounds of crying. Kirishima was still holding his position without wavering. Get up! Izuku finally spoke, the boy raising his head hesitatively before the rest of his body followed. You owe me nothing. You would have done the same as a hero, so you can owe me when you become a pro. Kirishima's face went red as he nodded, wiping his tears with the back of his hand before silently walking once more. Well, if you want to meet some of my friends, let me know. Maybe after school or something? Izuku raised an eyebrow at the kind of offer. I'm moving tonight, so maybe next time? Oh, you're moving? Why? We need a bigger house. But you're still in the same area. Izuku nodded in confirmation. Kirishima's bright smile returned again. Then maybe we can stop by for lunch or something. It's pretty close to Aizawa, which means he'd be pretty cool with you stopping by, right? Yeah, because I'll be in your fucking class by Monday. Maybe. As they arrived at Recovery Girl's office, Kirishima put his number into Izuku's phone without even asking and ran off with a girlish smile, leaving the greenette by the door unable to turn the door handle. Fed up, Izuku slammed his forehead against the door several times as the older woman entered. Ah, there you are, child. I've been looking for you. Come on in. Let's get started. Toga was concentrated on the movie in the corner of the infirmary as Izuku laid down on the cot and let Recovery Girl get to work, staring at the lights above him as he felt the air hit his arm and hands. Bandages and stitches were removed as well and cleaned thoroughly. Recovery Girl satisfied with her work once she put everything down. All right, that's all. Izuku sat up, immediately looking down his arm, carefully wiggling his fingers and balling up his hands into fists, acutely aware of the energy it took. It was more difficult than he remembered. One of his hands suddenly went lax from the tight fist and felt numb, before returning to normal a second later. Recovery Girl must have noticed the action as she frowned and took his hand into her own, rotating it several times. You probably lost some muscle mass, so don't worry about it. Just keep practicing and you should be okay. As for the Shigaraki's Quirk that did scar. I wanted to let you know. Izuku nodded and stood for the bathroom, pausing once he entered, and just stared at the mirror for several seconds. The top half still uncovered. The marks left on his shoulder was more of a blob. One crossed in front of his throat was far more distinctive. Each finger was visible. It left his skin pale and white toned, paler than the rest of his body. The texture was bumpy, similar to the burn scars felt. Izuku had many scars, too many to count, and he had become accustomed to receiving new ones. The small explosions, burns on his legs from Kachan, the flame markings from Hazashi, the thin white lines etched into his arms and thighs, the red burn marks on both his palms from grabbing Kachan during the sludge villain incident, the pink scars slashed across his nose from a fight on patrol. The biggest of them all is the double-layered burn that took up his entire right side of his torso, etched into his armpit and to his thigh, and winding up his ribcage. There were so many different stories behind each, yet these ones, specifically around his neck, this one was different. It was like a mark of a claim, something Izuku did not want, because no one would hold him down anymore. Nothing would stop him from doing whatever the fuck he wanted. He hated this scar. And this was the beginning of Izuku's hate for all of them. He hated it. He hated himself. Thanks for all of your help, Hazashi cried as Mirako hauled the last box to the doorstep. Hawks nearly out cold while sprawling on the ground. Nimue sat next to him with a sweaty red face. I can't believe we got this all done over a week, Nimue groaned. Is that even possible? I mean, you didn't move that far, but still. This is Shoto we're talking about, Hazashi shrugged. I swear, he's like some sort of magician. Zashi! Toga jumped around. Come see my room. Come on, I have a whole window. Shota hummed. Wake the bird up. Izuku and Toya made pizza. Get your asses in here before I kick you out for good. Harsh, Nimue mumbled as he yanked Hawks onto his feet, causing him to stumble right through the door as his brain automatically headed to the kitchen from the good smell. Hazashi was the last to enter, pausing at the entrance of the new kitchen and staring at the madness his life had become. Mei was trying to see if she can fit a whole slice of pizza in her mouth, while Toga and Shinso were cheering her on. Hawks was sitting anxiously next to Toya as the taller man downed a shot of liquor and he found both Nimue and Mirako, then Shota lying on the ground, somehow already asleep. Except, where was Izuku? Toya slammed his glass shot down and frowned. He was just here. Maybe the bathroom? Hazashi nodded. Oh, probably. Now that he can shower without help, I can't blame him. The dinner table was crowded as Hazashi noticed Hawks was staring at his slice of pizza. Mirako across the table was staring at the blonde with some sort of slightly drunken fire in her eyes. He recognized that look. It was the same look from Nezu's office, and if he didn't do something soon... Oi! Toya slapped the back of Hawks' head roughly and pointed to the pizza. Eat! I made that myself! Hawks widened his eyes and leaned back slightly. What? You still don't like onions? I'll pick them off for you if you want. Hawks shook his head. I'm not supposed to eat pizza. Toya snorted. Says who? The commission? Well, while you enjoy your pizza, you can tell the commission to come here and eat my ass because they shouldn't be starving their children, Hawk's nose went pink and he looked away, chuckling wetly before picking up the pizza. You're gross. What? You're jealous? Jealous of what? Letting the commission eat my ass, of course. You want to have a go too? Stop that. Shota slapped the man with his scarf playfully. You might be a little tipsy, but no one here wants to eat your ass. Hazashi felt a smile appear on his face as Hawks took a timid bite of the pizza, yellow eyes widening in awe as he took another, followed by another, and another. And he reached for a second slice, and a third. He even took a shot, the blonde coughing as some rum dribbled down his chin, and he shook his head. That's icky. Toya rolled his eyes. You're acting like you never tasted alcohol before. Because I haven't. Wasn't allowed. Oh, oops. You didn't even finish the whole glass, pussy. Shinto deadpanned as he reached over, tossing the rest back, where a scream from the boy had followed, as Shota grabbed his ear and pulled hard. What do you think you're doing, you little brat? You're 15! I'm sorry, Shinto cried as he pressed his hand against his red ear. I forgot you can't do it around adults. What the fuck does that mean? The room broke out into a loud laughter as Hisashi eyed the empty chair nervously. What was Izuku doing? Izuku could hear the noise from downstairs, but it was distant and echoed. His head lumped in the hot water splashed against the back of his neck, running down the white skin and bled together with red. His eyes tracked the liquid swirling down the drain. Izuku's eyes were wide, and breath became out-sputtered. Shame immediately washed over him as he turned to the shower curtain, then frantically trying to rinse away the splash of red against it. No one could know. He wouldn't let it happen. He hid this habit for so many years. He couldn't let it slip now. Everyone would know what a coward he was. Hot tears stung his eyes as he scrubbed the curtain, accidentally spearing more blood against the sleek texture, which made him panic even more, as his hands were shaking violently, the muscles and nerves still sore. Sorry, 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 he repeated over and over again to no one until he sat down slowly, pulling his knees to his chest and clamping his hands down around his calves, fighting against the urge to tear at the strands of his hair. Izuku thought he was over this behavior. He thought he had grown stronger than the person he was in the past. He was wrong. He was weak. He ended up pulling once on his hair, then bringing it to his face, staring at the strands that he yanked out, remarking several with light ends. Izuku's bangs clung to his face as the back of his hair made his shoulders blades feel warm. Yet the water was growing cold. How could he be so weak? As time became meaningless, Izuku turned the shower off and sat in the tub for a little while longer, the tears now falling silent as he eventually stepped out, wrapping the black towel around his body and taking a seat on the edge of the tub, pulling his backpack closer. He started carrying medical supplies for when things got rough on patrol. He never would have guessed that he would patch up the wounds he carved into himself. How could he be so weak? There was a bang at the door, Shota's voice calling him. Izuku, it's time to take your medication. You've been in there for a while. Are you alright? The greenette dropped the bandages in panic and reached for them immediately. Yeah, one minute. What are you doing? Izuku fumbled as he rapidly pressed the gauze to the oozing wounds, biting down hard on his lips as lines of stress etched themselves into his face. Just a shower. You showered for 2 hours? 2 hours? 2 hours? No, there's no way. Izuku, can you open the door for me? A drop of blood splattered onto the bathroom tile as the doorknob shook a little, tears beginning to spill faster from Izuku's eyes. I'm changing. Wait, please. He became frantic, naked in the dimly lit bathroom as he dropped to his knees and started scrubbing up the blood, eyes flashing over to the used tool, still stained red. Izuku, did you fall? Just let me in. No. The boy nearly slipped as he rinsed his hands, checking his face, dull skin blotched with red and eyes raw. He stared at his collarbone, moving down his ribs and further to his hip bones, so sharp that he was surprised that his skin was still intact. When had this happened? How could he be so weak? Izuku managed to pull on a hoodie before the door was unlocked, and Shota stood there holding a coin. Hisashi standing behind him with a worried expression. I told you you weren't allowed to lock the door, Shota explained with a disappointed expression. Izuku pulled down the edge of the hoodie to cover himself. He kept his head down and low as Shota stepped in with a soft sigh, eyes quickly roaming the bathroom before silently helping Izuku dress himself again. The boy was grateful he managed to cover his arms in time. That could have been bad. They could have found out how weak he was. Can I brush your hair? Hisashi asked hesitatively. But Izuku shook his head and pushed the hand away roughly, snatching his backpack and making way straight to his room, slamming the door shut behind him. The tears were back as Izuku tore the bed apart, whipping the blankets into the empty corner of the room, followed by the pillows, 3 sweaters, one of Toya's shirts he stole, and the beanie taken from Hitoshi, collapsing into the pile of madness despite his hair dripping, leaving the mattress untouched. There were a quiet whisper outside the door. The hall light still shining from the bottom gap, 2 pairs of feet shuffling for several minutes. There was a knock, but Izuku ignored it. More whispers followed until the door was forced open. Yet, it wasn't Shota or Hazashi. Hitoshi, Mei, Toga, and Toya all entered quietly, one of them flicking the soft lamp, and all looking down at him with pitiful looks. Izuku hated it. "Here's your meds," Toya mumbled as he opened his hands to reveal 3 pills. Grabbing Izuku's chin and forcing his jaw open, dropping them in, then pouring some water into his mouth. Izuku was forced to swallow. Then he held his tongue up to give proof that he did as told. They all watched him for a moment before leaving. How could he be so weak? "Mind if I sleep here?" Izuku looked up as his friends had returned, all holding armfuls of blankets and pillows. They were all dropped around Izuku's corner, promptly followed by hoodies as the lamp was turned off. "Good night, guys," Toga whispered as everyone echoed the words in return, followed by the meow from Mika. Izuku's eyes adjusted to the dark as he stared at the picture frame hung up, the one all his friends from before Shota and Hazashi decided they couldn't be homeless anymore. He wondered what life would have been if his mother never died, if he went to UA, if Kachan was his best friend, if his father never left, if he was never hit, if he got a quirk, if he wasn't weak, if he wasn't useless, if he wasn't... Okay, and that's it. We did it. We did it. I can't believe it. It's so long of a chapter. Okay, let me actually glance at the next one. It's probably going to be... Oh, it's actually not that bad. Oh, okay. But this was a long fucking chapter. Okay, it maybe not that bad, but it's still bad. Okay, yeah, so we did it. Also, I got memberships on my channel now. Kind of want to do that just because any type of monetization makes YouTube post the videos more to more people. So you don't have to actually subscribe to that. I do plan to get a Patreon eventually. It just like that's in the making, and I have to like record the videos, and I already struggle with the videos that I do right now, so yeah. But there's a lot in the works. Still working on everything. It's just been a little bit more difficult to record because everything in my life problems. All right, so if you want to see more of this, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Bye.